Hey everyone, welcome back to the Talking North podcast. Happy to say that I've got Josh from Further North back on. Josh, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. We've just seen the team changes, so a little bit of shock and awe, but I'm getting my thoughts together. It's important. A big change. I didn't actually think there'd be this much movement.
Yeah, speaking of, I feel like we have to start the episode with that. So let me go through what the team changes are. So for Collingwood, it's just the classic Scott Pendlebury back in after having a calf injury. And then for
Mm.
North Melbourne, we have four changes. So the four players to make way: Josh Goda, Jacob Constaney, George Wardlaw, and Will Dawson. And the four players to come in: Riley Hardiman, Paul Curtis, Zach Bench, and Matt Whitlock. What do you think about that, Josh? Because it took me by surprise when I saw it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm just going to get them up in front of me here so I can remember them all. My first thought was the three rucks are dead. That was my first thought. I love Will Dawson as a key defensive prospect. This is nothing personal on him, but the three ruck thing needed to die. You can't be bringing a 200 centimeter bloke in to play 26% game time and get two touches for a game. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm happy that that looks like it's going to change. If Will Dawson was playing in the back line, I would love to get him more exposure, but he hasn't been confusing. The one thing that I always think of is, well, Matt Whitlock is the key position replacement for him. Do you think there's any chance Matt Whitlock's playing in the ruck?
I don't think so. I was watching AFL tonight just before we hopped on here, and Drew Jones said, "Oh, seemingly Matt Whitlock will play as the second ruck for North Melbourne." Absolutely not. You look at him in the VFL. Coleman Jones, Goad, and Will Dawson have all rucked in the VFL. Whitlock does a few contests in the forward 50. I can't see Whitlock being in the ruck. I think we're going to go down the path of Cooper Trembath at centre bounce, Sherry around the ground, and then Jack Darling to, get in a ruck contest every now and then, which I think is perfect. So Whitlock in the ruck, no chance, in my opinion.
So in that case, then, do you think, because we're going to go with four talls a lot of the time up in the forward line then with Larkey, Darling, Whitlock, and Trembath, do you think we can go in with four talls? Because I don't think we can. I think it leaves us at massive risk of getting that ball ran out of our forward 50 so quickly by the Pies, because they're a bad stoppage team, the Pies, but they're a great transition team from the half back line. So I really worry about going in with four talls in the forward line if X is rucking around the ground after the centre bounce when Trembath has gone in there. Trembath obviously pushes forward. So if we can mark everything in the air and we've got glue for hands, it sounds great to me. But if the ball hits the ground, are you worried about how quickly the Pies are going to transition when we already give up so much transition?
I am a little bit, but the way I'm like looking at it, 20 minutes after finding out these team changes, I believe that there's going to be not many moments during the game where all four keys are inside 50. So I think Larkey obviously plays majority of the game, but I think Darling, Trambuth, and Whitlock are going to be rotated throughout. I think it's going to be rare where all four of those keys are going to be in the forward line at the same time. So I reckon whenever Sherry's off, it'll be Whitlock in the forward line, Trembath in the ruck. Whenever Whitlock's off, it'll be Sherry in the forward line, Trembath in the middle. And I think it'll work itself out. I feel like we've maybe for a few weeks been trying to get Whitlock in the team. And I think after, maybe some of the performances from Will Dawson and his lack of opportunity, we're like, yeah, this is the week we want to try the four tools. But I don't think they're going to be jumping into each other, and that's what I hope. But yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think? I assume it's something you're worried about.
I'm very worried about it, mate. I'm thinking, does someone play in the back line? Does a Trembath go back? Or Whitlock obviously has been known to go forward and back, started in the defense when he got drafted and has gone forward. So I wouldn't hate seeing a Whitlock in the back line. I think team balance wise, it's completely off, but I want to see Whitlock play because I really like Matt Whitlock. So it's very, very interesting. It's either going to be a masterstroke or the reason that we lose. I mean, I also just don't want to see Whitlock playing under 30% game time either. I don't know what the point of a player coming in and playing that little time is. We're basically playing with 22 people instead of 23. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense on paper to me unless one of them plays back, and I don't think they will. I don't know. I don't love it. I love the players that are in, and I want to see them, but I don't love the fit. I think we're just so tall, and I don't understand. I'm confused because at least it made sense when Dawson was here because you thought, okay, we can play in the back line and maybe chop out some ruck if need be, but he just played ruck. So I've just got this awful feeling that maybe Trembath just plays ruck, or they're going to just throw Whitlock in the right, something weird like that. I don't know. I just don't feel good about it, even though I love all the players that are in, but it just, to me, sounds like a defensive transition nightmare for us, because Paul Curtis being back in, he's our best forward 50 tackler. I like that. I don't really trust Banch laying tackles. He's too small. I'm excited that Banch is back in. I guess we can talk about the others now so we don't go on too much of a tangent, but I'm excited Banch is in. I think he's deserved his opportunity. Paul Curtis plays tall as well. He doesn't really play small. So I guess it's just a bunch of talls with Banch running around their feet. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely the most unique forward line structure we've gone with this year. I have a feeling there's definitely a matchup reason. I'm not 100% sure why. You look at Collingwood's backline and it's actually not that tall. Billy
It's only
Frampton's
really
their only
Frampton, yeah.
recognised key defender, right? Jeremy Howe, the interceptor. They don't have Quaynor, which I think you mentioned in the preview pod that he's usually a great matchup for Curtis. Very good that he's not in, but their backline's interesting at the moment. It's quite small. So are we maybe going really tall in the hope that we just are clunking them all day? Whether that's a good idea to hope that our markers are on, who knows? But I think the 5 day turnaround is the big reason. You look at Goda, he's been great in his first 2 weeks. I think this is a really good decision to if he's been managed because he's missed so much footy. I think playing him off a 5 day break is risky, especially in such a,
Yeah.
a game with such high stakes. So I'm happy with that decision. And Hardiman we need to play him because there is a risk that he is going to be going to Perth, so either West Coast or Fremantle in the off season. We have to get games into him because he should be in the lineup. Jacob Constanti's been managed. I don't quite believe that. I think he's been dropped. He got the ball around 3 times against Port. I think he's been dropped as a like for Bench. And then, yeah, obviously Curtis comes in for Wardlaw. With Wardlaw going out, who do you see in the centre bounces more so now that, Wardlaw a mainstay in our midfield? Do you think Simpkin gets more midfield time? Do you think we bring a Luke Parker, mix Curtis in there? What do you read about the midfield mix going into this game?
I think Simpkin is the obvious one. Every time we've had an injury in there, I mean, when Foss went out a few weeks ago, Simpkin did a lot more CBA. So I think it'll be Simpkin. Paul Curtis can roam through there. Clarkson has done that before as well, maybe for 2 or 3 a game. But I think Simpkin takes that, and you probably put a Blamires on the wing with a Hardiman sort of and McDonald sort of down there, being the medium to small sort of defenders. So I'd say Blamires feels like more of a winger than a defender to me personally. I think he's good going forward and back, but he feels like a winger with his running ability. So I'd say chuck Blamires up on the wing and get Simpkin in the CBAs, because Simpkin will crash and bash a little bit as well. He's decent, just like LDU is as well, of sort of escaping traffic. So I think the centre bounce, and we always say this on the preview pods, is the most important facet of AFL football at the moment, because Collingwood, as we mentioned, are a bad clearance team. Their ruck situation that I talked to Nick from Pies Nation on my preview I did for it, he was saying that he's worried about the ruck situation because Cameron hasn't adapted like X, but they don't have a leaper and a jumper in there like a Trembath that we can chuck in. So we should have a lot of dominance around the clearances. I really wish Wardlaw was in there, though, because I think the Pies midfield lacks physicality, and I don't think they like physicality. I think they want to get it to the outside quick and then move and use their elite ball movement. So I wish Wardlaw was there, but Simpkin is a bit of a hard nut too, so I don't mind him going in there. And if you need a bit of chaos ball, if it's not going our way, chuck a Paul Curtis in there. I don't want to see Parker in there. I like Parker in the back line. I think we need the leadership down there as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's any of those three, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jai Simpkin has shown enough this year that whenever he's at centre bounce, he can be one of our best players. I think I looked to a game early in the year against Brisbane where he tagged Ashcroft but also got plenty of the ball himself.
Yeah.
Do you think Jai Simpkin or Finn O'Sullivan tags Nick Dacos? Because this is the big thing going into this game. Nick Dacos is, let's be honest, he's the best player in the AFL. 25 points clear in coaches' votes. Simpkin or Foz to Nick Dacos, what do you think?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. I think it depends which way the game's going. I think they both need to do a job on him over the course of the game. I think if you stick one guy on him, Dacos probably wins that battle. I would say go. Oh, I don't know, because I love Foss's offensive burst and his attacking ability. So I'd probably say go Simpkin around the centre bounces, but I don't know. I think they're very, very similar players. Foss has got a little bit more pace and a bit more offensive ability, in my opinion. So I'd probably say Simpkin and let Foss loose. And if that's not working, then you can swap it up. But I'd say try Simpkin on him first. And I feel like when they've both been in there together, I feel like Simpkin has got the job over Foss if Simpkin is playing in the midfield, if a Wardlaw's out or whoever is out of that midfield group. So I would go Simpkin, but you could convince me either way. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate going into the game. I think I've heard a few different takes. I heard David King really digged into us on first crack on Wednesday night. That was pretty brutal. I don't know if you've seen it, but one
I
of the
haven't
main
yet, no.
things he was talking about was Finn O'Sullivan and that we are wasting him as a tagger, and I think that's rubbish. I love Kingy. He's a great North Melbourne man, but I think the idea that a player is wasted as a tagger is something that people need to stop thinking because being a tagger is different to what necessarily Finn O'Sullivan does when he's on a player, right? There's all this talk at the club about, oh, he always wants to do the defensive stuff, but his ability to also win the ball is so impressive. He's not just like there to tag. He's not like a Oisham Mullen from Geelong where, all he does is tag. He gets the ball himself. And people have been saying maybe Finn O'Sullivan goes on Nick Dacos because he's a young player and he can learn from him. I don't necessarily know if that's something we need to do as well. So I would go with the Jai Simpkin. I think a mature player on Dacos is a better move. Simpkin's a leader of the club. I think he is the right matchup for Dacos, I'd say. But I also think when Simpkin maybe, rotates on the wing, you just chuck Finn O'Sullivan on him. But I don't think we're going to go as direct of a tag on Nick Dacos as people think because listening to Clarko's presser, he said, yeah, we'll focus on him, but, we got to focus on the other players as well. Jordan De Goey's having in career best form. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting one with Nick Dacos because they also do have good players as well.
Yeah, I
Looking
mean,
at
what you said
some...
before is true. Really quickly, sorry, is like
No, no worries.
calling him a tagger is just not true and not right. And
Yeah.
love David King. I mean, like you said, a great North Melbourne person, but and I haven't seen this whole clip, so I'll watch it eventually. But he's not just tagging people. He tagged Merritt out of the game and got 25 on his own earlier in the year. He's done other jobs like that. Even that game where Simpkin was on Ashcroft and he got plenty of touches himself. So it's not a tag. I wouldn't mind. It depends what phase of play we're in. If we're in the forward half of the ground, I wouldn't mind Simpkin watching a little bit more. But I think Foster's maybe better defensively. So maybe he can watch if Dacos goes down to the back line. The other thing is Collingwood is not a good clearance team from the middle of the ground. So we should be on the offensive in the centre bounces. And when Dacos is around the ground, I think then you watch him. But I wouldn't be putting a hard tag on him at centre bounce. You can sort of watch, but I think offense needs to be our thing from centre bounce, and then we need to defend the ground well. But we've got the better midfield when it comes to centre bounce statistically. That's not just my opinion, that's a fact. So we need to be on the full offensive at centre bounce, expect to win the hit out with Trembath, use an LDU and a Simpkins burst and a Foss. And, do we see more McKercher in there as well? That's another point to add, and I like him in there. I think McKercher on a Collingwood would be unbelievable because their ability to get the ball to the outside and use their pace. We need to utilise something like that with McKercher there. So it'll be interesting, but they'll both play roles on him, I assume. And does anyone stop Nick Dacos? Not really. Will Phillips, notoriously, a few years ago as well. But
Yeah.
bring back Will Phillips for a game.
Yeah, it's interesting with the midfield battle. I was just going to mention, Collingwood are 18th in clearance, we're 7th. That is a extremely big difference. And I think, yes, it is. I think we will win clearance. I think no matter how effective either team is with clearance, we will win clearance. The most important thing about this game is how we convert, and that's been our issue in the last month and a bit. We're getting, aside from the Port game where they had that huge dominance in the last term, we've been killing teams in inside 50 counts, but it is how we convert. It's how we enter inside 50. I'm a little bit worried, looking at, how many key forwards we're playing. Are we just going to be bombing it in, hoping they take miracle marks? I really hope not, and I think the difference between us winning this game and losing this game is how we enter the ball inside 50 and how many opportunities we create. Our inaccuracy has been, lingering for the last month. I think this is a game where we'll shrug that off. I think the accuracy will turn in this game. I think it just eventually will. I think Larky will start kicking straight. I think it's how we're entering the ball inside 50, and I've heard you go on about this a lot. We're sick of long bombs inside 50. Do you think we will try slow it down going inside 50, or do you think we're just going to continue to bomb it in long, hoping our tools take miracle marks all day?
Well, I think we can sort of do one or the other as a team. I think we can either have, and this is just a stage of development, in my opinion, where North Melbourne is at, right? We're still such a young team. And like, if we play fast, I think we're going to be bombing it long because I don't think we can play fast and then have that composure into the 50 yet. A couple of years' time, maybe that's different. Or if we play more of the possession type game, like against the Power, we generated shots at goal. We just missed them a lot. We didn't play overly fast against the Bombers. It was a little bit faster because they're awful, but we didn't play overly fast against them. But our forward 50 entries in that game were immaculate. It was the best we had 19 marks inside 50. So if we play fast, I feel like it will be bombing it long. And I think that's how we're going to try and play because this tall forward line suggests there's going to be a lot of like putting it to the top of the square. But then if they're all jumping all over each other, or if we kick inaccurately, it's going to give Collingwood a chance to set up from the back. And Collingwood almost want you to kick points so they can transition from the back and use their pace and their spread, which is more dangerous than their midfield is straight out of the centre bounce. So if we kick accurately, we can really put scoreboard pressure on them and not let them set up from the back line, like the Hawks as well. The Hawks aren't an incredible clearance side, I don't think, off the top of my head, but they're so good off half back. And if they can get it off there, it's just so hard to stop them. So if we kick accurately, I think we can build scoreboard pressure. But if we keep missing, it's going to get our confidence down and giving the Pies a chance to set up from the back and use their spread. It's very, very dangerous. So I've got my hesitations, like I said at the start, with this very tall forward line. Unless Paul Curtis lays 25 tackles in this game, I get a little bit worried, to be honest. But hey, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think there's a few ways we can go about this game. I want to see us move the ball quick. I really do, because Collingwood are a slow ball movement team, and so are we. We're two of the slower ones. I do just want us just to take the game on. I think playing scared like we did against Port is just not going to work. Kicking laterally, kicking backwards, I don't want to see that. And I think it's been clear at our games at Marvel Stadium this year. I don't think people are talking about this enough. So we're 6-1 at Marvel Stadium, 2-7 everywhere else. You look at the way we play at Marvel, it's actually like completely different to the way we play anywhere else. Most of the time, you look at the second half against the Suns, you look at the round one against Port, the second half against Carlton, most of the game against Carlton. We move the ball so much quicker at Marvel Stadium. I'm not sure if it's the dimensions of the ground or it's just we feel the energy of the home crowd, but I think this game is going to be very different to the way we approach the Port game. I can see us moving it really quick. Whether that makes us prone to the turnover game, I'm happy to take that risk. I would rather turn it over in our half, Collingwood's back 50 than our back 50, because if we move slow, we're prone to doing a bad kick, trying to go into the middle. I'd rather the bad kick happen further down the field. Do you kind of agree with that sentiment?
I do agree. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And this is the difficult bit at the moment for a developing team like North. I want to see us attack the corridor and take the game on a bit more. It's all about work rate from our midfield, though. And when our midfield gets the ball in their laps, I think they're very good. But when they don't, they have to work for it. I don't think we've been fantastic the last 6 weeks or so. I point to the moment, like a couple of times in the last quarter, Colby McKercher burst through the middle of the ground, right? And he absolutely grubbed a kick, turned it over. That's probably the moment we lost that game, right? But when you're looking at that moment, besides that turnover, it was 3 or 4 Port players and him running. Who was there? Who was there to support him? There was no one gut running with him. He got the ball off the back line and no one ran with him. No one was there. I would love to see, because I wasn't at the stadium, I would love to see an open shot of the ground and see where the rest of our midfielders were when he was running through the middle of the ground. Because as much as it really hurt to see Colby turn that ball over and the game was iced, him doing that is the biggest threat we have if we want to play fast ball movement. And he needs to have the license and should have the license to be able to do that. He just needs runners, mate. Where's LDU? Where was a Wardlaw? Like, he's probably on the bench because he did his hammy, but, where even a Blamage or a Simpkin or anybody, where were the players supporting Colby McKercher at the time of that run? There was a couple of other instances of things like that too, where we get caught out in the middle of the ground because there's no one supporting. So if we're going to play fast, The halfbacks and the midfielders need to be working their ass off to get back to the back line, then push forward. I want to see those midfielders running, 12 Ks for the game. I think they really need to, because we need to work harder. And if we can run as a pack, it felt like at the start of the year, we're running together. Are we more fatigued now? I don't know. But there was always another person to handball to. We were putting together handball chains, opening the game up, and being able to win by big margins in those first 6 weeks because of that. And it just doesn't feel like that's there at the moment. So if a Colby's taking it on, if we do take it on, which I would like to see, we need to run as a unit, and the midfielders need to bust their gut a little bit more. I don't mind at certain stages of the game, though, if we are getting a lot of pressure against us, I don't mind trying to play a little bit more conservative just to settle down a little bit and control games, because the best teams in the league do that. They don't always just play all offense. They know when to switch to conservative to offensive. And that's what I think Clarkson wants to find. We've seen us play really aggressive football, and we've seen us play conservative football. If we can find the balance of those, I think that's the winning formula. Aggressive football is always more exciting, but it's also a reason why we could lose the game by a big margin. But that's where maturity comes in. That's where a Parker, and a Darling and Caleb Daniel and those players need to orchestrate this sort of stuff. So I want to see us take the game on, but I want to see it at the right times. And I want to see support from the midfielders if someone's trying to bust their gut. So, because if they don't, it's going to end up in a turnover. And then we know when North concedes a few turnovers, mate, we know how quickly we can get scored against. So that would be my hesitation, but I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean by there's got to be a balance of both. My issue with that is I think we're either one or the other. Any given throughout a game it changes, but any given quarter, you can, as soon as the quarter finishes, you can be like, that quarter we went slow, this quarter we went quick. And that's not a sustainable style of footy. And it was amazing against Gold Coast when we were going a bit slower at the start, and then we went really quick and pulled off a miracle comeback. As good as that result was, as exciting as that was, it's not sustainable. And we've seen that against better teams, and I'm not sure, obviously inexperienced, but we need to be able to, as you said, switch it on during a quarter. We need to read the game a little bit better. When do we slow down? When do we speed it up? And I think, the experience plays are really important for that. This is why I like seeing Riley Hardiman in. And I want to touch on the idea of the handball receive. So Colby, I think, is trying to do too much. He is the guy that runs from the D50 and also wants to be the guy that receives the handball and kicks it inside 50. I don't think you can do both all the time. I think more speed off the halfback with Hardiman is important, because I think the likes of Hardiman and McKercher need to do one or the other. Whether it's Colby breaking the lines and breaking a tackle, then a Hardiman or a Blamires or a Simpkin is the handball receiver. Colby's trying to be both right now, and that's not sustainable. So I think, yes, players need to run with Colby. I don't know if it's players' tanks. I don't know if it's the work effort. I don't know if it's Clarko wanting them to stay back, because a lot of the goals we concede is out the back. And that happens from when everyone's running with each other, then the ball goes out the back. I'm happy for us to take that risk so we have handball receivers. So yeah, I want to see people run with Colby. A player I actually really want to see kick inside 50 more is Cooper Harvey. I think he is one of the best kicks in our squad. Like I'm saying that as a big Cooper Harvey fan, but you also just see the way he kicks the ball. He rarely turns it over. He rarely scraps the kick. I feel like he finds the better option more often than not. So yeah, I think the likes of Cooper Harvey and Riley Hardiman need to run with Colby to be that handball receive. Do you kind of agree with that, or am I blabbering on a bit?
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is sort of what I pointed out before. Colby's being the guy to take everyone on because he sort of has to be, and no one else is supporting him. And he's got to execute those kicks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give him a pass on that, but Blamires and Dill Stevens are wingers that need to run all day. And this is where they're there. This is where Bailey Scott excelled when he was good a couple of years ago, right? And we really missed that type of player. Blamires has been really good. I really like Blamires, but Dill Stevens, we know his tank. He covers 12 to 15 Ks a game. He can run all day, and he's a great user of the football. We've got users of the ball now, right? Like him or hate him, Spargo's a good user of the football when he's using his foot, right? He can find someone inside 50. Cooper Harvey, as you pointed out, is a good kick of the football. Caleb Daniels, good kick. I think Colby's been a lot better this year. His turnovers are very noticeable, but I think he's been a pretty reliable user of the football this year. Foss has a good kick on him. Sheezer's a great kick now. We've got users in this team, and that's reflected by us being top 4 or 5 in the competition for disposal efficiency, which doesn't feel like it. We all feel like we butcher the ball for fun, but we don't technically. Like, it doesn't feel like it, and I was shocked by that stat too, but we are one of the better ball usage teams in the league. So we have to be able to utilize that. And if we can get those players in attacking positions and we run together, if you've got support, you can find the open man and you can actually make the right decision instead of having to panic kick and dump kick it all the time. So if the team wants to bust their gut, I'm looking at Stevens and Blamires, Daniel running off halfback, Harvey, Foss, those midfielders linking up as well, Spargo dropping down a bit more as well. They're the players that, to me, and she's obviously needs to be delivering that into the 50. LDU maybe not so much. He can be the run with player, but I don't want him being the guy kicking it into the 50 as much because he's not that good of a kick. But we've got the weapons there that can kick the football. It's about having support and giving them time to actually be able to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a all-in team mentality. I think that's obviously
we need our version of the orange tsunami, mate. We need to, and genuinely we do. Like, we need to run together.
Or something.
Well, there you go. There's a name there already for it. Copyright that before someone takes that, mate.
Okay, I will. I think the main thing we agree on is the ball movement is key going into this game, and I think yes, Collingwood have a really strong defense, but there are ways we can pierce them. If we just continually get the ball inside 50, they're going to be under pressure, and I think they do have some of their best defenders out. I think we have a chance. This is a game we can win, and I think especially after such a disappointing result against Port Adelaide, they're going to be fired up. 5-day turnaround, yes, but Collingwood had a 6-day turnaround where half of their team was in a melee. Like, they're also going to be fatigued as well. We can't forget.
Heads are gone.
Yeah, exactly. Braden Maynard, I can see this. Braden Maynard and Paul Curtis, I can see that being an extremely fiery matchup.
Sounds like 3 weeks for Paul Curtis coming up, mate.
Yeah, it'll be 3 weeks for Paul Curtis and a fine for Braden Maynard for doing the exact same thing. But I think this is a huge clash. I think it's one of the biggest games in the Clarko era. I think Friday night is huge. I think I was listening to the 200 Plus podcast. Charlie Common was like, I've never played on a Friday night before. And Darcy Cameron, who's one of his co-hosts,
his feet up.
Yeah, he's sitting over there laughing, and it's like, Collingwood don't take us seriously. A lot of the league doesn't take us seriously. Whole country's going to be watching. I think this is a huge opportunity to show what we're made of. So yeah, in saying that, what's your prediction for this game, Josh?
Oh, I mean, I can give you a head and a heart tip. Honestly, I think North need to show me. They need to win to make me feel like we've got enough good form. I do think the Pies probably win it, but I think it's close. And I don't want to be the downer on the pod, but I'm always realistic with my tips. I tipped Collingwood by a couple of goals on my podcast. Can we win it? 100%. I can see the way we win this game. If we don't, we only lost the game last week because they scored from our turnovers, and we missed shots in front of goal. If we can tidy up the goal kicking and actually have some support when we run through the ground, I think we can absolutely beat Collingwood. If you're at the top of your footy tipping, I'd say pick Collingwood. If you need a smoky that's not completely ridiculous, you pick North this week, and that's where the way I'm going to go. Can we win it? 100% we can. I'd say 60-40 to the Pies, though. Pies do have 3 on the bounce. We haven't been in the best form. We've been getting over the line, but they need to prove to me that they know what they need to fix and go out and execute it. And then I'm back on the Tip North train all the time. But my honest opinion, I'd probably say the Pies by a couple of goals, but we're absolutely a chance. We're definitely no slouch in this game.
Yeah, well, you said that you didn't want to be the downer on the pod, but I am also going to be the same. As much as I just went on that tangent of trying, hyping up and, what a big game it is. I do think it's going to be too big of an occasion. I think Collingwood are just such a professional team. And yeah, they've not been quite at it this year, but they've been in every single game this year, bar maybe the Geelong game. They just know how to win games of footy. And when this July period is the toughest part of the season to play, everyone says that. It's, a month after the bye. It's not finals yet. Their teams can't rest their players yet. I just think Collingwood know how to get it done. We've historically, this part of the year, we've struggled at for a long, long time. And I think it will be close. I don't think Collingwood are that much of a better team than us, but they are. They still are a better team. I know,
Yeah.
we had a few weeks where we're above them and it was awesome, but to be honest, they are a better team. So I think Collingwood will win by about 20 points. I can see us sticking with them for a lot of the game and the classic tale of maybe we fall off in the last quarter. But nonetheless, I'm extremely excited for this game. I think it's just a good opportunity to play Collingwood on such a big stage. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Josh. Much appreciated. Yeah, hopefully we can get